Have you ever made a big decision in life? Not based on logic, but simply because it felt right? Or have you ever regretted a decision that you made based on ratio, while everything looked perfect on paper? If so, you're not alone. Hi, my name is Tom and welcome to the Dopamine Factory, where we aim to understand life and craft happiness. And today we will be talking about decision making. And let's start with a personal story. So last year I was in the process of buying a house. Big decision, big money, big commitment. Now usually I'm a very rational guy. For example, when picking a holiday destination, I'm always the one building a big spreadsheet with all variables like weather conditions, things to do, or what other people thought of the location. Which then, after weighing all the pros and cons, lead to an ultimate decision. But when it comes to big decisions, like choosing where to live, or choosing where to invest 80% of all my money, then that approach somehow doesn't work for me anymore. And I tend to fall back to simply what feels right, or differently said, my gut feeling. So what we are going to focus on today is what exactly is this gut feeling? How does it also relate to logic? And can we make use of both to make decisions that feel clear, grounded, and truly right? Let's dive into it. When we make decisions, inside of us, two systems are at play. We have the gut feeling, which is fast, intuitive, and subconscious, telling you either, ooh, this feels right, or ooh, something is off. And we have the rational mind, which is slow, conscious, and effortful, which is constantly analyzing what are the options, what are the risks, are we really sure? Psychologist Daniel Kahneman describes his two voices as System 1 and System 2 thinking. And specifically System 1 thinking is extremely interesting. Because while it might come across like raw instinct, it's actually a complex mechanism where your body constantly pulls information from, for example, past experiences, your body's emotional memory, subtle cues in body language or tone, or learned patterns which you do not even consciously notice, which is then all being processed in milliseconds and is often translated in, for example, a rush of anxiety or a discomfort in your stomach, by which your body is telling you, pay attention, something important is happening. In life, you need both systems to thrive. And to use a metaphor for this, imagine you're driving in a country road in heavy fog with only a few meters of sight. In this situation, your logical mind works like the headlight on the car. And it helps you to spot all logical things, like the next bend in the road or where the navigation tells you to go, basically helping you to determine the smartest next move. Your gut in this metaphor is more like how the car feels under your hands, or the grip on your wheels, or the instinct to slow down, even when you don't know exactly why. Where your body in the setup is basically constantly processing all of this information and signaling you how to best react and keep the car on the road. As you can see, both mechanisms are extremely powerful, but both are also not perfect. And to make this more specific, your gut can, for example, react too strongly to fear or past pain. For example, you might have a driving accident in the past, which now makes you panic in certain traffic situations, which is obviously not helpful. On the other side, your mind can overthink and ignore things that really matter to you. For example, you're so focused on which best route to take that you totally miss in what's happening in front of you. So to make best decisions, you really need to learn when to listen to your gut and when to listen to your ratio and how to balance listening to both. So let's dive deeper in what it means when your gut is talking and what it means when your ratio is talking, and how to best react for decisions that lead to more overall happiness. And we do this by using a 2x2 matrix based on two simple but in practice sometimes complex questions. What does my gut say and what does my mind say? Which then leads to 4 possible scenarios. The first scenario is your gut says no and your mind says also no. This is the hell no scenario, because these are decisions that feel wrong and also just don't make sense, right? An example of this is a job offer with poor conditions that also gives you a bad feeling. You obviously should not do it. Secondly, we have the scenario where your gut says yes and your mind says also yes. This is the yes I want, because it feels good and it makes sense. And examples of this are marrying the love of your life, or a once in a 10-year opportunity to join a company you always wanted to join, and you should obviously just go for it. But then we have the 2 decisions in the middle, which I labeled as the dubious dilemma, where the mind says yes, but the gut says no. Examples of this are an opportunity for a stable job with a good salary, but you already feel stressed just thinking about going there. Or the second scenario is what I call the big leap, where the gut says yes, but the mind says no. And examples of this are starting your own business when it feels right, but your mind might still be hesitating. The general guidance I have for such situations is that I only lead with my ratio when it's about small decisions, like picking a hotel or figuring out how to best go from A to B or choosing a new phone, simply because it's efficient and not worth wasting too much energy, mental energy on these topics. But for almost every decision of significance, like whether or not to switch job, or if I should travel overland from Singapore to Utrecht, or if I should move to another country for a girl, I first check with my gut feeling, and only afterwards I assess with my rational mind if there's not something major I might have missed. And if not, I just go with my gut feeling. Or differently worded, I make a rational decision based on my gut feeling. So in the examples I just gave, I would just go with the idea of starting my own business. And on the other side, I would step away from the job that already makes me nervous just thinking about it. Because what I've learned is that your gut feeling is closest to your emotion and your identity. And when driving in my car on a foggy road, I rather pick the wrong road, which is aligned with who I am, which via some rerouting will ultimately still lead me to the best destination, than that I pick the route that now looks best on paper, but ultimately will bring me only further from home. Now, let's switch to your stories. What were the biggest decisions you have made in your life, and were this made based on logic or based on gut feeling? I would really love to hear your stories in the comments. And if you made it this far anyways, please consider giving this video a like or share it with someone who might benefit from the message. It's support like this that really helps the channel grow, and it's also your unique chance still today to give me a little spike of happiness. Thank you again for watching, and I see you in the next one. Much love, Tom.